Hello, everyone. Welcome to Sex Positivity Unfiltered, where we talk about sex and we are not polite about it. My name is Lyndsey Murray.
And I'm Denise Stratton.
And today our topic is...
Do you mind if I railroad you real quick?
Sure.
Is that all right? All right, guys. So I just want to give our audience a little sneak peek into our personal lives and just throw this out there, guys. It's about to be Lyndsey's birthday. So
yes, it is.
It is about when is your birthday, Lyndsey, if you don't mind our audience
It's
knowing?
on April 14th.
Exactly. Okay. So I came here prepared to do toxic femininity, and I am, and we will do that. But if you don't mind, would you be okay with doing a bonus episode about Lyndsey?
Oh, yeah.
It's a birthday episode. Yeah, cool. All right. So, guys, it's Lyndsey's birthday. yeah. So my awesome podcast partner, I just wanted to kind of focus this on her today. So, but I'm still gonna go like sex positive movement type thing, mental health. So that's kind of what we're gonna talk about a little bit. So just to start us off though, Lyndsey, just give the audience most of our audience know. But what do you do for a living?
So I am a certified sex therapist, and I'm also a couples therapist and a licensed professional counselor. I'm actually, side note here real quick, I always say couples therapist. I'm trying to get in the habit of saying relationship therapist. I heard another therapist say that because I do work with like different relationship types that have more than two people. So I know. So I'm trying to get in the habit of like, I've always said couples, and then I was talking to another therapist who like clarified that, and I was like, oh, I need to be saying relationship therapist. But relationship therapist, licensed professional counselor, and I do have a private practice here in Dallas. So that is what I do for a living.
So where did you grow up? Like, where are you from?
I grew up in a town called Ingleside, Texas, which is near Corpus, Texas. Was in South Texas. Corpus Christi is a pretty good sized town, and then Ingleside is a small town, maybe half an hour away.
Were you used to the beach? That's near the beach, right? No?
Yeah. We went to the beach quite often because it was a quick drive. I mean, less than half an hour, you could really, like in 15, 20 minutes, you could be at the beach from where I lived. Yeah.
Oh man, jelly.
Well,
actually.
I'm not a beach person. I don't particularly enjoy the beach. I don't. Right. I don't think I ever have really. So people will say that like, oh, I'm so jealous. And I'm like, oh, you can have the beach. I'm okay.
Okay, that's fair. I mean, for context, guys, in Dallas, Texas, we don't have any scenery around us. We don't have mountains. We don't have beaches. There's no like major bodies of water. It's just you have the sky. We do have a beautiful sky.
Yes.
A beautiful Texas sky. Okay. So little Lyndsey and Ingleside, you said?
Ingleside.
When you were growing up, like, do you have siblings? Do you have, are you an only child? Like,
I have a younger brother. His name's Quentin, and he's 2 years younger than me. So I'm turning 34. He'll be 32 in May. And he is like my best friend too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
good.
so I'm very close, but he's my only sibling.
Okay. Yeah, I mean 2 years apart. That makes sense. That tracks. And then just for this podcast theme going, tell the audience a little bit about your sexual education. How did that go? I know we've touched on it before, especially when we have guests here, but we've never done it we've never gone deep dive on yours. Yeah.
There really wasn't any, to be perfectly honest. There was like a little bit in school, but it was more like reproduction. It was like the softball coach teaching the course. Like the impression I got when I was in school, I was definitely already in high school, but it was like they didn't have anyone to teach it, and they just kind of threw her in there.
It's always the coaches.
She didn't know what she was doing. It felt kind of bad for her. She was like, I'm just here doing what they asked me to do. And it was just very minimal. Okay. And then at home, we never talked about it either. It was never discussed. Never. I can't recall one conversation about it.
So now that you have your profession, what do you wish, like, how do you wish that day would have gone? Or do you wish it would have been more than a day? Like, what?
I wish it would have been over time, to be honest.
Okay.
Like, I wish there was something in every grade that is like an age appropriate sex education. I mean, like, even from a young age, like first grade, second grade, third grade, if there was like some time carved out to talk about like physical touch and consent and pleasure and like, but in an age appropriate way, I think you can do that. Rather than one day in high school, a few things are thrown at you and then that's pretty much it. That's right. Is what I wish like would have happened. I don't foresee that ever I don't foresee it being that comprehensive ever here in Texas, not for a long time.
Which is unfair because then we leave it up to the parents, and parents aren't always as comfortable with bringing it up to their kids, right?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So yeah, your sex education. So in high school, what did you think you wanted to be? Because I'm pretty sure it wasn't. I mean, maybe it was sex therapist, but
no, it was not sex therapist. God, what did I think I wanted to be? I really had no clue. To be honest, I really had no clue. I know, like, how I grew up. I did have a traumatic household, and it wasn't great. Like, I think my only goal, to be honest, was to get out.
Interesting.
Yeah, that was really my only goal. My goal was like, get good enough grades, get into college, get out of this town. And that was pretty much it. As far as like a career goal, I really did not know. I was like, I just want to get in school and like.
Were your parents together?
Then. No, they were together. Well, I shouldn't say no. They were together until I was 16.
Okay.
But it was a terrible marriage. Okay. I mean, it was an abusive marriage, not physically, but like in every other way. And then, of course, me and my brother were like victims of that abuse as well. And so it wasn't a great marriage. It was one of those where it should have just ended a long time ago. Like by the time I was 16, I was like, this is long overdue. Like it's miserable in this house. It's terrible here. I never wanted to be home. Like I always had a job. As soon as I could get a job, I was working.
Okay.
If I had an extracurricular activity, I was in it. I was in band. I was always involved in band. There was always something that I was doing because I just hated being at home.
Okay.
Terrible. And so when it came time to think of like, you know, what do you want to do? I just genuinely did not know. But I was like, as long as I get in college, I can figure it out from there. Okay. Yeah.
I do want to try to tie in our previous like episodes and the lessons that I've learned on this podcast into this interview a little bit. So I'm going to ask, what do you think your attachment style was whenever you were in those teenage years, like 16, 17? Would that be attachment avoidant because you didn't want to be home?
Yeah.
Very independent, right?
Yeah. Honestly, I would say it was kind of a mix, like very disorganized. Like it was either anxious or it was avoidant. Like I would very much... I don't know. It was like if someone wanted to get close to me, I kind of avoided that because my only experience of like close relationships were traumatic. It was like the people who I should have like been able to rely on, I couldn't. And so it was like, someone wants to get close to me. I know what that means. It's going to lead and hurt. I don't want to do that. But then also very anxious because if someone like didn't like me, I would really want them to like me because I felt like at home, no one liked me, you know? So it was this very like mixed push and pull kind of thing that I had going on. And so, you know, even when I went to college, I had that.
No,
so
I relate to that,
my first year of college was like really hard. I did fine. It wasn't like I had to come home or anything, but you know, like going to a different, because I went to college in San Antonio. So it was like a couple hours away, maybe like 2.5 hours away from home. And so you go there, you don't really have any friends. You're living in a dorm with other people. And I didn't really know like what an adult friendship would look like. I mean, I was just very lost.
Okay. Did you have best friends in high school?
Yeah, I did have best friends, but they didn't go to college.
Okay.
So it was like,
so you were on your own.
I was on my own. I was totally on my own, like completely. And so that first year was rough because I was kind of a mess, you know, and then I made friends in college and it got better from there. But yeah, even in college, I stayed super busy. Again, I think maybe a way to avoid it was like, there's a lot of hard feelings here. If I can just throw myself in work and activities and everything, I'll survive.
Okay.
That's what I did. Yeah.
So when you were in your high school, you were developing relationships. I guess, how old were you when you had your like first kiss or your first relationship?
I was 16.
16?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And, was it someone who you really, like, you had liked for a really long time? Or was it more of like, oh, he likes me?
I think it was more like, oh, he likes me.
Okay.
You know, I'll be with him. And I did like him too. I mean, he was on like the varsity football team and a very important player on the football team. But he also wasn't like the stereotypical jock, if that makes any sense. I didn't view him as like the popular crowd. He got along with them, but he also had friends kind of in every group. He was very kind of low key, right? And so I did like him. But if I look back, I think it was just because like, people like him, and then he likes me, so I must be good enough. They're good enough to be right. So that's how I entered that relationship.
Okay. What would you say would be young Lyndsey, like high school Lyndsey's type? Like what were the characters you were attracted to, even if they were like celebrities or people who are unattainable? Like,
I mean, it was definitely like Orlando Bloom.
oh really?
Yeah.
I love it. Hey, I loved Orlando Bloom too.
Yes.
Let's not even talk about Pirates of the Caribbean.
Orlando
was my shit,
Bloom,
girl.
tall, dark hair.
Okay.
Kind of type. Yeah.
He's like thinner too.
Yeah. Which is what, like, oddly enough, I think it was. So like my boyfriend, he wasn't thin, but he wasn't like overweight. He just wasn't like, he didn't look anything like Orlando Bloom.
Oh,
I will say that. And I don't mean that in a bad way. He's not like an ugly guy, but he didn't look like Orlando Bloom. But I think, I had such low self-esteem at the time that, part of the attraction to the Orlando Bloom type is like, almost like I wish I was that good looking. It's like it can be like a projection.
He's very pretty.
He's very pretty.
He's very pretty.
And it's kind of an impossible standard to live up to. But back then it was like, I just had such low self-esteem.
Oh man! After seeing Pirates, I wanted to be a pirate for like the next 3 Halloweens. Just
that was what. That's what grew.
You know what I'm
that's
saying?
where I grew the crush. Was Pirates of the Caribbean? I was just like, oh my god, I'm in love with him. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel that. I feel that all day. Okay. So you're 16 is when you're experimenting. You're going through high school years. You're getting your first kiss. Did your first sexual experience come pretty close after that, or was it?
Yeah, it came pretty close after that. It was with him, with my first boyfriend. Yeah.
And did he make you feel safe, or was it more like you just wanted to get this like over with, or?
No, he made me feel safe.
Good.
He was very respectful. Neither one of us really knew what we were doing.
16 girl.
We didn't really know what we were doing, so we were both kind of lost together.
Okay.
Which was kind of nice in a way. It wasn't intimidating. It wasn't like, I'm the one who knows nothing and he knows everything. We both didn't really know what we were doing, but we figured it out together. And he was very respectful, very patient, very nice, loving. We broke up. Obviously, we haven't been together in a very long time, but he was always a good guy.
Okay.
Yeah.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but high school Lyndsey is seeming like a very, like, I'm assuming your grades were really well.
Yeah.
It sounds like you, a little bit perfectionism almost, like you threw yourself into a lot of different.
Yeah.
Were you in any clubs, like any like key clubs, or like were you
newspaper?
in every...
Not newspaper, the yearbook. Yeah.
Okay.
Yearbook group, and then band was a big one, and then theater as well, like one act play.
Wow.
I did that kind of stuff. Yeah, I was really big into that. I wasn't very good. Like I would always have really small parts, but I really didn't care. It was just so fun, to be part of that group. So that was that one. So yeah, little groups here and there.
Interesting. Wow, actually I'm learning a lot about you. I didn't know you were in theater. I didn't know you were in the newspaper whatsoever. All right, so how did high school Lyndsey differ from college Lyndsey?
I think, that's a really good question. I mean, my first couple of years of college, I was kind of the same as I was in high school, like immature in a way, but I don't blame myself for that immature. Maybe immature is the wrong word, but yeah, it was like a huge learning curve when I'm thrown into it. But very determined to make it work. Like the motivation to not go back home was strong. It was like, I had days that first year of college where I hated it because I felt so alone. Like I even felt homesick, which is really weird because I didn't like being at home. But it was at least what I knew.
Your safety, yeah.
And I went through all that, and I was like, I can't go home. I'm gonna have to make this work, So I think like later in college, I think I did grow some confidence, and I think confidence is probably the biggest difference, right? There was more I still had a long way to go, but I was definitely more confident in college than I was in high school, for sure.
Okay. I mean, yeah, you're starting to learn how to be an adult and actually accept.
Yeah.
One thing that I liked about college years compared to high school years is that you're in high school, it seems like you're more focused on trying to fit into the cohort, right?
Yeah.
And then in your college years, you're starting to accept and use your differences as a way to like get your, I don't know, it seems like you're more accepting in yourself, or you're learning to be more accepting in yourself.
Well, and there's so many different types of people in college. I mean, you have people from all over the state, all over the country, and maybe even from different countries. You know, you've got people from all over, and so you're kind of trying to figure out like, rather than trying to fit in, it's more the question of, well, where do I fit in? Like naturally, right? Like what feels good to me? What kind of people do I really vibe with? So I was figuring a lot of that out in college. Yeah.
How far away from your college was from home was your college?
It was like 2.5 hours away.
Okay, so it was like a decent
It
enough
was like a
to
decent
where,
amount of time. Yeah.
but still kind of close enough to where if you really did want to come home on the
I
weekend.
could go. Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
All right, that's actually really nice. So what'd you study in college?
I went into business, and again, I have no idea why. I really
Okay,
don't. There's
yeah.
just that pressure, like you got to pick a major.
Yeah, I know. I hate that. Yeah.
I don't really like science. I don't really like complex math. I didn't want to go into the arts. I didn't feel like I was very creative. So I was like, I'll just pick business. And then I was going to go into accounting, but accounting was too complicated for me. Again, it's like the math. I'm not really good with math. And so then I went into human resources.
Mm.
And so that was like, I got my business degree is what I got it. And so then when I got my business degree, I worked in human resources at a corporate office, and you very much realize, I mean, this is very naive of me, but I'm like, human resources, like human, you get to work with people. But when you work in HR, you're really there to protect the company and not so much the people who work there necessarily. So I didn't.
You're there for liability reasons.
Yeah,
Really.
I did not particularly enjoy that.
Interesting, because a lot of people do have that misconception that HR is
Yeah.
there for the employee, to protect the employee, to make sure that the employee is safe from the corporate man. But yeah, if you really look at the job description, it's more like legal liability is what you're what you're an expert in. Yeah, interesting. Okay, so I do want to go back to like high school Lyndsey versus college Lyndsey.
Mhm.
The question that I have is, now that you have your sex therapist hat, you're highly educated in your life right now. If there was any piece of advice that you could have given 18-year-old Lyndsey whenever she was alone and she was figuring it out, is there, when you think back on it, like what advice would you give her?
The advice I would give is that not everyone needs to like you.
Okay.
That would be the advice. I had a lot of heartbreak over not being liked. And some of that was all in my head. I didn't really know if this group liked me, but I would just assume they must not like me because of whatever.
Because we don't mesh. Yeah.
And I would just run with it. And if I could go back, I would just say, like, not everyone needs to like you. Like, you as you are right now are fine. And you'll find your people. And it's not going to be that serious. And it's really not, like, now where I'm at in my life. I have my friends. And if there's someone who doesn't like me, I really tend to not stress about it that much because I have enough people who do.
That's the hardest thing to break, though, when because in high school, that's all you care about is, I need to, in order to survive, I need to fit in somewhere. So yeah, getting into being on your own. That's one thing that I always admired people who left home for college, because they literally had to learn how to be completely independent, like not have their safety system, not have like anything, just be able to be with themselves and then learn how to be okay with that one, and then also how to find your own people yourself, not to just have it like land in your lap, right?
There's so much to navigate when you move away for school, and I had to do everything on my own. So like by the time when my parents split up and then we're getting a divorce, that was right around the time when I would be like applying for colleges, taking the SAT, figuring out where I want to go, figuring out FAFSA, scholarship. I mean, everything, having to move, the whole thing.
Jesus.
I had to do all that by myself because my parents were so tied up in their divorce. Yeah. I had to like pay for the application by myself. SAT, had to pay for it, take it, bring myself there all by myself. Orientation in San Antonio, had to go by myself. Moving, went by myself. My brother came with me, but not my parents. Went by myself. Buying books, applying for FAFSA, getting the dorm, paying for everything by myself.
Wow.
Literally everything by myself. And so when there would be like, for a while, like my dad really wanted me to go into like engineering. He was really big on that, which is really weird because at the time, he didn't even go to college.
They just hear parents. They're
just like,
they see a salary and they see this is what people should be doing who are productive in society.
You're gonna make good money if you go to that. So go into that. And I just knew, I'm like, I don't like science or math. This is not gonna be good. It's not for me. It's not for me. I would never make it those majors are really, really hard. I don't have it in me to do that, right? I knew even then, I was like, I'm not fucking doing that. But he like really wanted me to. And so then when I had to do everything by myself, I just got to a point where I was like, I'm doing all this by myself. Why would I listen to someone who is not helping me at all?
And who didn't do it himself.
Who didn't do it themselves. There's no help. There's no experience. So I was like, okay, I'm not doing that. But yeah, it was a huge adjustment, like figuring everything out completely on my own.
Wow. So there was like almost a level of parentification that you went through in like your upper, in your younger adult, upper teenage years. Yeah. It seems like it. Wow, girl.
Yeah. And there was also like, again, my parents are getting a divorce and my mom got her own place and it was like complicated on where I was going to live. And then both of my parents were so like depressed and mad at the other that me and my brother really were in that role of like having to take care of them, like having to kind of fend for ourselves, to be honest, because they could not hold it together. And so we kind of took care of them in a way, which really made me resentful. It did. Oh, okay. It totally did. Because I was just like, you don't give me any support. And to be honest, like haven't in a long time, but we're supposed to be there for you.
Right. Yeah.
When you're, this married. I mean, it was the weirdest situation, and the lack of support definitely carried into college. So you can imagine, as I'm trying to make friends, it was like I wanted proof that they would always support me, but you can't really ask that of someone. Yeah. You can't ask that of someone. You can't put that pressure on someone. Like, you're going to always be there for me. So if they disappointed me one time, it would feel like they're just this horrible person. They must not like me. They must not care about me.
They must not care about
me. When the reality is people are just people.
Mm-hmm. They have their own lives, too.
They have their own lives. They can't always be there for you. I mean, even my best of friends, like, they're there for me as much as they can be. And if they ever can't be, I understand that now as a mature person. I was not that person at all in college. Yeah.
Well, so were those some of the hardest lessons you were trying to figure out, is like how to be okay with your support system, or how to even be your own support system?
How to be my own support system was really hard. Yeah. Because I could figure things out on my own, but I really wanted outside validation to fill the gap.
Okay. Cool. All right. So let's switch on to a little bit of a happier topic. What made you go to the therapy route? Like, what did you start just enjoying people? Like, did you find an interest in people, or did you like?
I think what made me go into the counseling route. So my brother, who, like I said, is my best friend, but at the time our relationship was really rocky because he was struggling with addiction, both drugs and alcohol. He was really struggling, and for a while he wouldn't get help, and it was like, as a family member, frustrating.
Of course, yeah.
Because he had his daughter as well, and it was just like, you feel so helpless, And then when he did finally start getting help, it kind of sparked something in me. I'm like, well, maybe I want to help people that way. And so my master's degree is actually in rehabilitation counseling, but it's not just, I think when you hear rehab, you do think like drug and alcohol rehab. That's where my mind was going. And I was like, I'll apply to that program. Got in. And then when I got into my master's program, you learn that it's not just addiction. It's rehab is like disability as well. And then it's also counseling, and it's also mental illness. And it's kind of all encompassing. And then from there I didn't ever go into addictions counseling, oddly enough. But that was my initial like motivation.
Okay. So what do you love about this topic? Because I mean, there's one thing of wanting to help people and wanting to study a subject because you're interested and you're curious, but there's another thing, and I've seen you, Lyndsey. You have an insane amount of passion for like helping people with mental health issues and helping them navigate their relationships. So what do you love about your job?
I think I love figuring people out or helping them figure out themselves. It really is like a puzzle. Yeah. Like therapy is really like an art. If you can help someone piece together the puzzles of why they're experiencing what they're experiencing, it's honestly kind of fun for me because it's so complicated. Like the challenge will never end, like you'll never reach a point where you just know all the things and, I just know what you're going through. You never really know because people are so complicated. Yeah. Everyone is. Yes. And so when a client comes in, it is just really fascinating to me to see what's happening, but to know that there's more to the story.
Okay.
Right? And so I get to inquire about that and help someone dig a little bit deeper. And you kind of get to figure out, oh, okay, here's what's going on. And then you can help them, whether you're helping them piece that together or they need a specific skill that they've never learned, you're helping them fill those gaps as well for themselves.
So you like helping people get like feel the light bulb go on.
I do. Yeah.
You
Those
do like that aha
breakthrough
moment.
moments.
Okay.
Yeah. Cause like on the surface, like even in, you know, and like working with relationships, the fight that's happening in front of you is not the fight that's happening. There's more to the story. It's so funny. I'll see that all the time, like a couple bickering back and forth about this thing. And I've gotten over it. It's hard at first. It's easy to get sucked into like the story that's happening. But I've gotten pretty good at zooming out and going, what's really going on here? What's the dynamic I'm seeing play out as opposed to like, what's the fight? What is the dynamic? And why is that dynamic happening? And it's pretty interesting to see clients' reactions because they're like, yeah, that's true. Well, why is that happening, right? How long has that been going on? What goes on for you when they say this? And so you get to learn a lot about them and they get to learn a lot about each other and themselves. So it's a lot of fun.
Actually, that sounds pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
I do love seeing how people work. It's interesting that you tell me you're like, no, I'm not a big fan in science and engineering and math, and that's not my thing.
Yeah.
But then you look at people and you're like, they're like puzzles, which is
I know. See, I like that kind of puzzle. But if you put numbers in front of me, I'm like, oh God, I don't know.
Do you like puzzles in general?
I do. I like puzzles,
okay,
like an actual jigsaw puzzle, or maybe like Sudoku.
Oh, I love Sudoku.
I know.
Yes,
those
girl.
kind of like word puzzles. But if it's like a math problem, I could not. No, that's not for me. I don't enjoy it and I'm not good at it. So it's a horrible combination of not only am I not good at it, I just don't like this.
Okay, that's fair. Okay, so yeah, that's pretty much like a good dive into like your work history and like what led you up to this. So in my opinion, this is just my opinion, I think that the major portions of our lives encompass around work, our financial status, like where we're living and stuff, and then also around our relationships. So you had, I guess, was your major boyfriend that you lost your virginity to, was that your main boyfriend in high school?
Yeah.
Did you have any like main loves in college?
No, I did not. No, I dated him until maybe like end of sophomore year in college. Okay. And then I really didn't date until after I was done with college after that. Yeah.
For the sake of time, or you just didn't want to have to deal with?
I think I was just too insecure.
Interesting.
I was just still, like, even though I was more confident than I was in high school, I just think deeply I was just still too insecure to go after anyone or to even be open to someone coming after me. Like, I just was not, there was just a block there. And I think I was still in that survival mode of like, just be busy, get everything done, that I was insecure and I didn't make time for it. I was like, I want to finish college. Because again, I was still in that don't go back home phase. Like, I was like, I got to make this happen. So it really wasn't until, after college that once I, finished school and got a full-time job and had more time, then I started dating then.
Interesting. Okay. And you said this is after college. So I guess how going from high school relationships then mostly going into the now very much adult dating life, what were, I guess, some lessons or some learning curves, or what are new experiences that you had?
I think I learned that I was not actually ready for a relationship. Like, I would say that I wanted that, but I really wasn't in a place to be vulnerable with anyone. Like, if someone wanted to legitimately date me, like, get to know me, take me out, come over, spend time with me, that was too close.
Interesting.
That was too close.
Wow.
For a very long time. But of course, I didn't know that. I didn't know that that's what was happening. I just knew the only people that I found myself wanting to spend time with were like casual sexual partners.
Okay.
Because there was almost like a safety in it of like, I already know they don't want anything serious and I'm not ready for anything serious. So it's a little bit easier. Even though what's so weird is I might grow feelings for them, but I knew deep down, like, this isn't going to go anywhere. Because I don't think like, honestly, subconsciously, I don't think I wanted it to go anywhere. I think I was too scared to be in a relationship, and I did not want to admit it.
And tell me if this is similar to you, but I mean, I very much relate to that because in my younger 20 years, my focus is around that time where usually, surviving, like money and, getting, also education. But my friends, my support group, they had way more of my focus and my priority than anyone else. I would much rather have gone to the movies with my best friend at the time than to have gone on a date, with someone. So I don't know. Was it?
That's how I felt
Okay.
too. That's how I felt too. It was like comfort in friends, really not comfortable at all with like romance.
Okay.
I wasn't ready for that. And, I wasn't ready for that for a long time. I mean, it was several years after college that
How'd you break through
a relationship. I honestly don't know.
Oh, okay.
To be totally honest. I mean, I guess I do know. It was after I had the sexual assault in like 2017. And then I went to therapy. And I think in therapy is when all the pieces kind of started fitting together. And it was like, oh, okay, here's why I avoid like a legitimate relationship. And something about putting that together made it easier for me to push past those barriers. If after that, if a man is being nice to me, my initial reaction would still be like, they're going to want too much from me. And then I would have to fight that. Like, no, they don't. They just want to take you to dinner. Like, it's really not as big of a deal as you're making it to be. And I would just have to fight those thoughts like every step of the way.
Like they might have an ulterior motive, like thought, or
not
like
even ulterior motive, but it's like if they want to be close to me, like they want to open up to me, I'm gonna have to open up back. I don't know if I really want to do that.
Oh, okay.
Because then that means I have to trust you to not hurt me. But if I open up to you, you could like fuck me over.
Gotcha.
Right? I didn't even want to take
it was
the
like
risk.
A protecting.
Yes.
Okay.
Like, I don't even want to take the risk. And so it was learning to like fight those thoughts, and then also learning it's a little bit of confidence too. Like, even if someone hurts you, you're going to get through that. Like, you don't have to protect yourself to the point of never being close to anyone. You can be close to people you choose to be close to. If they do you wrong, like, even if it hurts, you're going to get through it. Like, learning that trust within myself was hard.
Yeah.
Really, really hard because you don't think that you can do it.
Yeah. So this is a birthday episode, so I wanted to try to keep it kind of in the happier, but you did mention your sexual assault, which is something you've never talked about on this podcast. So I know if we do have an audience, they're going to be curious. So is that something you feel comfortable with going into further, or?
Yeah, that's fine. It was this guy that I was seeing, but again, casual sexual partner. And he really was kind of an asshole. Like, even before the sexual assault, he really was. Like, him and I would just go back and forth between, like, I thought he was cool, and then he would just be like a fucking jerk out of nowhere, and then it was just kind of this weird thing. But of course, I'm not a totally healthy person at this time either.
Okay,
now where I am now, I mean, I'm married now, but even if I wasn't, if someone was a jerk, it would take me 0.1 seconds to be like, I'm done with this. Like, I don't have to see you anymore. Goodbye. But that's not where I was at the time. So he was kind of like a jerk on and off. And then we had like ended our sexual relationship. So we were never really like, we were kind of friends, but kind of not really friends, but we weren't having sex anymore. Okay. And then I think we had gotten into a fight and didn't talk for a while. And then he like apologized, and then we went out and got a drink. But I remember even saying like, we're just going to go and get a drink. Like, we don't have a sexual relationship anymore. We're just going to, get a drink. And so we went out and got drinks, and my theory, I don't have proof, but I think he put something in my drink. Okay. Because I don't remember the night, like blackout.
And this is completely different than what your normal.
Yeah, I don't normally black out.
Okay.
I mean, I did have a few drinks, but I had a few drinks, maybe a shot, but I can have that and like not black out. So this was like blackout, don't remember a thing besides like the first couple of drinks. And so I wake up at his place. Mind you, the plan was meet for a drink, go home.
Easy.
Right?
Simple meet.
And I think the next day was a work day. Yeah, it was a work day because I remember I had to call in. So anyways, I wake up at his place, no clothes on. Don't know where my clothes are. And it's like pitch black dark. And he's laying there also no clothes. So I like knew, I was like, oh shit, I already know like what that means. I don't know what time it is. I don't know where I am. Like totally just discombobulated, right? Don't have
Wow.
any clue. And so I wake him up, and then like, your eyes kind of adjust to the darkness, and I realize I'm at his place. And I wake him up and I'm like, did we have sex? He's like, well, yeah, obviously. He said it just like that. He's like, yeah, obviously. And I was like, that's not okay. I don't remember anything. I must have been so drunk that it's kind of like disgusting to think, like, why would you want to have sex with someone who's that drunk if I don't remember anything? I also don't know how I got there. Like, I'm like, is my car still at the bar? Like, what time is it? I have no clue. Also don't know where my clothes are. So I'm like, where are my clothes? And he has this whole story where he's like, well, I had to take your clothes off because you threw up everywhere and it made this whole mess. So I had to clean everything up. And he's like, you should be thanking me that I like drove you here instead of letting you drive home. And it was just this whole weird thing. The whole throw up story didn't make sense because there was no smell of throw up anywhere. And my clothes were clean.
Oh.
There was nothing, not even like a spill of alcohol on my clothes. So I was like, that doesn't make any sense. And apparently he had, which I don't know this, right? I'm just meeting him at the bar.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't like drive to the bar. He Ubered to the bar and then drove us back in my car. And part of me feels like it was planned. Like, I'm not going to take my car. I'll Uber there and then we'll take your car back to my place. But never told me that.
Yeah.
Never told me that. So my car is at his
I mean, if y'all are just meeting up for a drink, I would have taken my car.
Yeah, I don't know I don't know what was up with that, but.
And he knew you had to work the next day?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so in my okay.
But also, if I just happened to be too drunk, you would just let me sleep on your couch.
Yes,
that would be it. Like the story doesn't add up. I just could not wait to get out of there, and got out of there, drove home. It was like 5:00 in the morning when I woke up.
Holy fuck.
Yeah, so then I get home and I was like, I'm gonna have to just call in. Like I'm not okay, And so then a couple of my coworkers who I really trusted, I texted them. I was like, here's what happened. And even at the time, I was almost like doubting, like, is this sexual assault? I don't really know. And then, of course, my coworkers were like, yes, obviously it is. Like, this is not okay. And so they took me to the hospital, did the like sexual assault exam, all of that, which is like re-traumatizing all over again because they have to swab all your stuff and you just do what you've got to do.
What were your thoughts around this time? It sounds very traumatized because they make you talk about it too,
They
right?
make you talk about it, and then like oddly enough, the nurse. So like when you go in, you tell like the hospital staff what happens, and they call the police. The police come because the police take a report, right? And then the nurse who does the exam comes in. The police handled it better than the nurse did, which is really odd. Yeah. Dallas PD, I'll give them a lot of credit. They handled it really well. They were very, very kind, very empathetic. Didn't make me feel bad. Like they were just like, hey, we're sorry this happened. We just want to get the story from you. Okay. The nurse, I did not like the nurse because like when you give the exam, I'm thinking they're just going to do the exam and it'll be fine. But she was like, well, what's the guy's name who did this? I didn't know if I was ready to give his name because I was terrified. I mean, I was terrified, shaking. Blood pressure was through the roof. Like when I came in, they checked. It was like extremely high blood pressure because I was so nervous because I was like, he's going to know I'm here telling on him. He's going to get in trouble. Like, what's he going to do to me? Like, he knows where I live. He knows what car. I mean, that's what was going through my mind was like, I don't know if I'm ready to give his name. But I'm here to get this exam done in case I want y'all to process it or whatever. And the nurse was like, well, if you don't give us a name, then we can't file a police report and we're not going to be able to process it. And basically there's nothing that we can do, which is not totally true. Like upon doing further research later. But she made me feel like you either give me his name or we're not going to do anything. So I was kind of forced to give his name. I wasn't really ready, but I was like, okay, well, terrified. Even leaving, even going home, like being at home, I felt paranoid.
Oh.
Like, what if they called him already and then he goes to, I mean, I don't know.
So now that you have been able to step back,
Mm-hmm.
did you have to give a name? Like, is that?
No, I didn't have to give a name. What really happens is, and again, take this with a grain of salt because I might be getting some of the details of this wrong, and who knows if the law has changed since then, whatever. But like at the time, I do think she has a point that they don't process it if you don't have a name, because without a name, there's no police report.
To tie it
But
to, okay.
the rule is like they'll hold on to all of your stuff. Like it's not just like they can't do an exam, they can't do anything. They can do an exam, they'll hold on to it, and they hold it up to I think maybe 5 years. Because if within those years you decide, okay, I do want to report his name, I do want to have a police report, at that time they'll process it. Like they can hold on to it.
Okay.
But the way she made it seem was like it's now or never. I mean, it was so,
otherwise it's going in the trash.
It was so intense that I was just like, okay, well, I guess I'll do it. And so she was not very empathetic or.
No, because you're questioning your safety.
Yes, yeah. She was like kind of judgmental. I didn't want to give it. And
okay.
I was not a fan of her. I could not wait to get away from her, to be perfectly honest. And then they also have another good thing that hopefully they'll always do. I think they always do this, but they'll have a victim's advocate come out. And that was where I went. That's how I found out about where to go for counseling. So the victim's advocate will come out. They're really great. It feels like you have someone in your corner with them there.
Okay, cool.
And they come, they're very kind. They're very, like, I'm here for you. I'm going to be right over here when you get in the exam. If you need me, call me over. If you need to stop anytime, we can do that. And they also give you information of where to go for counseling, contact information. You get their contact information. Like, it's really, really nice. It's really nice. And they also tell you about, victims compensation. So like I didn't have to use victims compensation in this case, but like, let's say, I was a victim of a crime and it had me out of work for like a month. Victims compensation will compensate you.
That's a good program.
Wages, for damages, for stuff like that. It's like through the state, they will do that.
Wow.
If you're a victim of a crime and they have the police report and stuff like that. So I didn't have to use that, luckily. But if I did need to,
it's there.
I could have done that. Yeah.
That's amazing. Okay. Mm-hmm. So would you say that experience kind of gave a pathway for you to be the therapist that you are now?
Yeah, I think so. I think I learned a lot about what good therapy looks like through that experience. So I got to kind of model that, of like, what part of the experience made me feel really good and what part of that do I want to give back to my clients? It definitely gave me a different perspective.
Okay. And then you were talking about your the way you viewed relationships and your dating style. Mm-hmm. It seems like it kind of came in eras. So you had the era of your high school, you had the era of your college where you weren't really dating very much, and then this sexual assault happened, and then you said you pretty much, that was when kind of a breakthrough almost happened.
A breakthrough kind of happened. Like I realized kind of my own avoidance tendencies, and then not long after the assault, I had got into a serious relationship with my ex, the one that I had right before, or he was like my last relationship before Andrew.
Okay.
So that happened then. He was someone that we had tried to date in the past, but of course I was avoiding back then. I knew he wanted to be with me and I was like, nope, don't want to go there. And like, really nice guy, And so after all this happened, we kind of reconnect, we get together. And I felt like he was really there for me. Good. But that relationship had its own problems. It was not a great relationship. And I think like that relationship taught me a lot of lessons of like being a nice guy is not enough. Mm-hmm. It's not enough. Yeah. It's not, because he was nice in the beginning, but he wasn't always very nice. And I didn't know how to handle that, right? Like I was trying to make the relationship work when all the signs the writing was on the wall of like, this just is not a good relationship. You don't have to keep this going. So it was almost like another extreme of like, you're either with someone totally or you don't be with anyone at all. And so that relationship, I learned there's a middle ground. Like you can try to make a relationship work, and it's also okay if you decide this isn't it for me.
Okay, good.
Right? But it took me a while to figure that out. Yeah, that was a tough relationship.
Oh, I understand that. And I love when you say, you either have to be completely 100% all in committed or, just not at
Yeah,
all, right?
yeah,
And that was very much also my experience when I was younger. It was either I was all in
yeah,
or I always have a foot out the door, right?
yeah, yeah.
So I get that. Okay. So now we're on the topic of Andrew, which I'm excited about.
So you want to talk about Andrew?
Yeah. Now we get to stages of Lyndsey, right? So we have
Mm-hmm.
your dating when you were in high school, dating when you were in college, a little bit after college too, and then you go through this kind of a breakthrough of learning how relationships. Or you're getting really just more experience, it seems
Yeah.
like, right? So how did you meet your love of your life?
We met on Match.
Okay.
Yeah, we met online. We met on Match, and then we had our first date, and he was really quiet for a majority of the date.
Okay,
and
yeah.
I can talk a lot. And so, like, for maybe the first half of the date, I was kind of like, I don't know about this. Like, because he was just so quiet. I think he was just really nervous is what it was. Like, now that I know him like I do, I think he was just really nervous. But I was like, I don't know. He's really quiet. There's not a whole lot of like back and forth conversation. But then he really warmed up a lot on the date. Like the second half of the date warmed up a lot. Like we had a drink. And then he was really funny.
He starts jokes.
He starts jokes and they're like, they're really funny. Like he has this very, well, Andrew, but he has this very like subtle kind of humor. Like he's not a loud person. But he has this very subtle, like, witty humor, and that really came out on the date. And so then I was like, okay, he's funny. I like that. So I'll see him again. So yeah, that was our first date.
Do you mind, because I want to give Andrew a couple kudos real quick. Do you mind telling the audience the story where he pretends, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I do know. Yes, yeah. So again, this is first date. I don't know him very well at all, but this is what won me over, to be honest. This is such a great story. So we're at Nyla, or it's called Canvas now, but it's this like hotel rooftop bar in like Southside Dallas. And so we're there. It's like this great view. But it was kind of crowded, and so when you go, like, there's a part that's inside where you eat, and then you can go out near the pool and have drinks and whatever. And so there's not like a ton of places to sit. And so there was this other couple who was kind of sitting on this big like sectional couch, and we asked if we could take the other part of the sectional. And they were like, yeah, sure. So we're sitting there, and then the husband of that couple, they both were wearing wedding rings, so we assume they're married, right? So the husband like goes to the bathroom, and then the wife says something like, not that I'm trying to overhear y'all, but it seems like y'all are on a first date. Because I think the questions we were asking each other were very like, what's your dog's name? Stuff like that, right?
Yeah,
so it was like very obvious we were just meeting. We were like, yeah, we're on a first date. She was like, oh, that's so amazing. I hope y'all have a good time. And we just kind of like leave it there. And he comes back. We go about our own ways. And so then the wife goes to the bathroom, and the husband asks us like, so tell me about y'all. Like, how long have y'all been together? Whatever. I'm prepared to say, oh, it's our first date. But Andrew goes, yeah, we've been together like 5 years. Been married. He's like, been married for when we got married last year in October. And the guy just like he's like, oh my God, so great. Like,
congratulations.
Yeah. He's like, yeah, we have a house in this area. And so I'm sitting there like jaw dropped. Like, what? And I just went along with it too. I was like, yeah, we have 2 really great dogs named blah, blah, blah. And we just go into this whole story about like our life and our future and this and that, all made up. Right?
So good.
All made up. And so the wife comes back from the bathroom, and he turns to her and he's like, oh, I was just learning about them. They just got married last year in October. Da, da, da. And his wife goes, this is their first date. They just met today. And he was like, no, they just told me.
Oh, that's so good. That's so good.
Yeah. And then we all had this great laugh. He was like, damn, y'all got me good. I thought y'all were really like together all this time. We're like, no, we just met today. And they took a picture of us because they were like, in case y'all do really get married one day, you'll have this picture. And then here we are, married, almost
with 2
2 years
dogs.
now. Yeah, with 2 dogs. Literally, yeah, that's true. We do have 2 dogs, and we have a house.
Yeah.
And yeah, I've been married almost 2 years now.
Yeah,
So
it's badass. Badass. Yeah, I
Mhm.
gotta give it to you, Drew. The game right there was
It was
spot
good.
on.
It was very good. And that won me over, and I was like, this is someone I want to keep seeing. Yeah.
Hey. Okay, so how is Andrew different from like your past relationships?
I feel like he is very understanding just as a whole, but about like who I am and who he is, and we have differences, and that's okay. I just like with my last boyfriend before Andrew, like he was a nice guy, but I feel like when we had differences, it felt like it either had to be his way or it was going to be a problem. Is what I got. So it caused a lot of tension, a lot of anxiety, a lot of fights. It caused a lot of anxiety for me because I was just like, I can't live up to all the things that you want, or I'm too sensitive, or I'm too whatever. With Andrew, it's way different. It's like, yeah, we're different, but why is that bad? He has his preferences, I have mine. We're both really good at just kind of letting things be how they are, unless it's something that's like a non-negotiable. I mean, unless there's like something that's like, no, this is so important to me that we're gonna have to keep talking about it.
Okay.
We just kind of let things be how they are, and it feels so calm and peaceful, and we'll always make time for each other.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so that's a big difference with him. Like, Andrew's nice, but he's funny, but he is really, I don't know. He's comfortable in who he is, and so he lets me be comfortable in who I am. Even if that's different, I would say is the biggest difference.
I will give that as a big compliment to Andrew all day, every day. We've always been, our friends group has always been like a big group of heathens, of weird people. But what I've always seen with Andrew is this is going to sound a little discriminatory, profile-y, I don't know, stereotypical, I'm not sure. But he's always been the epitome to me of like just that average, normal white guy, right? Like that's just, and he's never tried to be anything else, right?
Yeah.
He's never tried to code switch to match with our group. He's
No.
never, like, Andrew is himself.
Yeah.
He's comfortable with himself.
Yeah.
And you can't pressure him to do anything.
No.
Like he was in a group of a bunch of 18, 19-year-old people who were drinking, and he refused to take his first drink until he was 21, which I think you have that same experience too.
Yeah. So that is very true. I mean,
Yeah.
what you see with him is what you get.
And I love that
that's
about
so
him.
honest, and he's a very open person. Like, he'll say yes to a lot of stuff, but if there's something he really doesn't want to do, he's got no qualms about being like, no thanks, I don't want to do that. And like, I love that because it's made it easier for me to do that, because I can be a people pleaser, and kind of seeing him model that, I'm like, well, I can say no to stuff too. And if I say no to something he wants to do, it's rarely ever an issue, right? It's usually like, okay, I understand.
It's badass.
Right? And I'll do my thing and you'll do yours, and we'll come back together. And, so we just have this balance of together time, but also individual time.
Okay.
And I think that's great for us.
Good. All right. And I want to end the episode like we normally do with our normal guests, right? And Lyndsey has a lot of other projects other than this podcast, and her sole own business as far as being a relationship therapist. So what else are you doing? What are you excited about right now?
So I do have another podcast called Real Therapy Gone Wrong, and Real is REEL, and it's me and another sex therapist, Brandy Sellers, who's a friend of mine. But every time we drop an episode, we'll watch like a TV episode or a movie that has therapy depicted in the show. And then we'll discuss and dissect the therapy that is portrayed, and kind of speak to what's accurate, what's not accurate, what's cringeworthy, what's totally inappropriate, what's totally inaccurate. And so that one is a lot of fun.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
It's so much fun, because the experience we have, we'll see things and we're just like, that would never happen in real life. It would never play out like that. That is totally written for TV. So we're having a ton of fun with that one. So that's a project. And then the other one is my cake business. Yeah. So Coco Loco Cakes here in Hurst, Texas. Yeah, I bake custom cakes and cupcakes.
Yeah,
is the other
they're
project I
pretty
have.
badass guys. Yeah. So
Yeah.
both of those businesses. If you're interested in a nice reaction channel with two experts, because y'all are both
Yeah,
certified therapists, right?
Yeah.
Or if you want to see the badass cakes that she has, I'll plug the Instagram up here right now. So
Yes.
so that's badass. So happy birthday, Lyndsey.
Thank
You're how
you.
old now? 30?
34.
Badass. Yeah. Welcome to the club. But that was it for today, and then I guess we'll go into our normal episode after we cut. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks for giving me a shout out, making me feel special for my birthday.
Oh hell yeah! Yeah, it's a big day. Yeah. Okay. So did you want to close out like we normally do?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I know this was a special episode, you guys, but I'm happy to share more about myself and connect with the audience. And I think both Denise and I are pretty open, so this kind of topic is fun for us. But yeah, we'll just close it out now. And again, everyone, thanks for tuning in. We are Sex Positivity Unfiltered, and remember to stay curious and fuck politeness.